these different phrases within this phrase. So I think there were, I don't know how many phrases, but we've been comparing why his is the dominion through investigating the macrocosm and the microcosm. And in this fourth section, we talked about how his art in the former, meaning the microcosm, displays it as a book, while his coloring in the latter, which is the macrocosm, his coloring in the latter, which is the microcosm, shines through speech. And so we basically talked about how the universe, comparing the universe as a book, which is more of like a static image, versus human as speech, which is something that's more alive, and that's like something we can interact with. And so we basically talked about how humans are made to read and understand the book, which is the universe, and be able to respond back, being like the addressee of the creator. And so that's pretty much what I got from the discussion from last week. Anyone wants to?
Thank you so much. Anyone wants to add something? If not, then, oh yeah, sure.
I guess 2 points that I remember are firstly the idea that the one who is speaking to me through creation is the one who is making me speak. And then the second one was like the use of the word gramophone, and how like gramophone is a device that has music stored on it. And then like whenever you want to, like something triggers the gramophone to play a record. And similarly, like looking at the universe, like is triggering me, like it's so beautiful, it's so majestic that it's triggering me to speak or say Alhamdulillah or Subhanallah or something.
So anyone wants to read the 5th section? Arsalan, would you like to read?
That's nepotism, by the way. You can read.
Which section? His power in the former reveals his majesty, while his mercy in the latter arrays his bounty. It has this meaning: divine power in the microcosm demonstrates the majesty of his dominicality, whereas dominical mercy arrays his bounties in a man who is microcosm. That is, Maker's power in respect of grandeur and glory creates the universe in the form of a palace so magnificent that its sun is a mighty electric light, its moon a lamp, and its stars candles, gilded fruits, and scattered lights, while the face of the earth is a laden table, an arable field, a garden, a carpet, and its mountains, each a storehouse, a mast, a fortress, and so on. He demonstrates the majesty of his dominicality in brilliant fashion by, on a vast scale, making all things into the huge palace's necessities, and his mercy in respect of beauty bestows on all creatures with spirits, and even on the minutest animate creatures, the varieties of his bounties, ordering their beings with them. He adorns them from head to toe with bounties, embellishing them abundantly, magnificently. He has the counterpoised the beauty of his mercy and the glorious majesty, those microscopic tongues and that vast tongue. That is, while the huge heavenly bodies like the suns and the constellations are proclaiming with the tongue of majesty, O glorious one, O mighty one, O august one. Those tiny animate creatures like flies and fishes are declaring, but with the tongue of mercy, O beautiful one, O compassionate one, O generous one. They are adding their gentle songs to that great orchestra, sweetening it. Is it at all possible that anything other than all the glorious one of beauty and all beauteous one of glory could have any part in the creation of the microcosm, or the macrocosm and the microcosm? God forbid.
Any comments? Anyone read this before coming here? No.
Okay, so when I was just the part where it was talking about like he demonstrates the majesty of his dominicality in a brilliant fashion by on vast scale making all things into the huge palace's necessity. I guess I had a question more like, is this necessity more like the air we breathe and everything else that we find necessary, or like, but there's also things that we find as necessity, but they're not really like necessary for living. I don't know if that makes sense, but how would you guys interpret that specific line? Yeah, on the second paragraph, the first sentence, how did you guys interpret, I guess, that sentence in general, where he demonstrates the majesty of his dominicality in a brilliant fashion by on vast scale making all things into the huge palace necessities? Like, what are these necessities beside kind of just breaking that down?
I'll ask that question too.
No.
Yeah. I'll ask. We'll collect on
Questions?
the question. So here's a question that I have is, with regards to the section in general, right? His power in the former reveals his majesty, while his mercy in the latter arrays his bounty. Is there a need within us to witness, his majesty, in the macrocosm, right? Outside of ourselves, is there a need within us to witness the mercy within ourselves?
So in response to their artist's question, how I'm understanding it is that the author is trying to draw our attention to both divine power and divine mercy that's sort of under this umbrella of Lahul Mulk, right? Of his is a dominion. And if we think of, he gives the example of a palace, or if we think of even like a company of some sort, like you first need the infrastructure, the larger management, the sort of larger scale elements for that company to work, logistics of it. And then there's smaller scales of it, like the well-being perhaps of its members, pay stubs, all these sorts of things, right? The palace example is probably better than the one I just gave. But we see that both on this larger scale and on the sort of most minute details, everything is being provided for, right? So the palace's electricity is being provided for, just as its, pantry is being provided for. It's by necessities, the huge palace's necessities, like the sun, the galaxies, the sort of infrastructure of existence, let's say, is being provided for, as well as the needs of like a bee. Recently, we've had the same bee. We're pretty sure it's the same bee. I don't know what the difference is, but apparently it's a wasp. It keeps entering our house from the window, and everything's closed, so it's found a hole somewhere. And we capture it, we release it from the balcony, it goes up and comes back to the window and keeps entering. And it's given, like, the one who has created the cosmos has also created this bee with the intelligence to memorize certain paths, right? And find its way back into the house of some random place in north of Philadelphia. So I guess here, power and dominicality of Rububiyya, right? Of meeting the needs of everything all at once, meeting the needs of the sun, whatever its needs might be, and also meeting the needs of little Ali at the same time. Anyone who can supply the necessities on both these scales of both this sort of humongous, unfathomable scale of the universe, and also this much smaller scale of like cells and flies and
protein molecules, what have you, shows that it must belong to the same owner. It must be the same sort of disposer of affairs. I don't know if that's helpful, but that was my understanding of it, inshallah.
I just wanted to add my understanding of that sentence. So I think when you think of the majesty of, like, let's say something huge being created, like a skyscraper, or I guess you could talk about the universe, galaxies, stars, planets, and then I don't know what's something big for me that I can't comprehend is, I would say a skyscraper. It makes sense to me. But then let's say when they made the skyscraper, like the company or whoever is building it, they wanted to show off their architecture, like their skills. And so they want to build it in the most extravagant way possible. And they try to build it and they get up some weird architecture, let's say. And you might look at it and say, this makes no sense in terms of livable conditions. Like they waste space, or this exists, but it's not giving any support. It's not doing anything. So when a human tries to go extravagant and tries to be like very majestical, some parts of it don't seem to like be cohesive with the rest of it. My understanding here is that something very vast is being created, but at the same time, every single piece within that vastness gives support to the rest of it. Like every single thing in this earth is somehow interacting with everything else, and it has a wisdom into it. Like you can observe how some worms exist, let's say hundreds of feet down in the earth, and somehow the ecosystem is affected, and it has so much effect on the rest of the world. Like it's not just existing for the sake of existing to be extravagant or like to be amazing, but they're all interconnected. And it just shows like on a very vast scale there's a hand, but also on the very minute scale there's a hand. That's how I understand it.
Something else also I would like to, I mean, I think that's how I understood it. It's similar to what Brother Abdurrahman was saying, is that so as he said, like people sometimes make very like grandeur things, very majestic things, but they are kind of useless. But like whatever is created that is also like as he said, the suns, the planets, for everything there's like wisdom behind it. And it's not only wisdom, it's also something that serves in a way to shows God's mercy. But I feel it's also what came to my mind is that like we could have been created in a way that we actually, you know, we don't need the sunlight, or we don't need oxygen, or we can live like independent creatures. We don't need like the environment around us. But I think we were created in a way that we can like recognize two things or multiple things, but in this case, like God's majesty and at the same time God's mercy. So his majesty by creating like the universe around us and this earth for us, and at the same time how these majestic things are serving us, showing like or showing basically God's mercy. Like we need the sunlight, we need this air, we need this earth. So it's not there just to show God's like majesty or God's power, but it's actually also to show God's mercy. Like the needs that we have are being provided. Yes. Too much.
I kind of disagree. So the way I read necessities was like probably what like Abdurrahman said about how like it's not just there to be extravagant or just like there for the sake of being there, like it serves a purpose. I think that purpose could be just showing the majesty. The purpose just has to be like somebody can, as long as somebody can read it and see like God in it, or see that as like a message from God, like I think that's what it means. It doesn't have to be like both majestical and merciful. It just has to like have a purpose. Like it's not useless, but it doesn't necessarily have to be telling of the both things. So.
Not sure we answered Atik's question. I think it was the first statement in the paragraph.
Is there a
Atik.
need for his revealing his majesty in the macro and his mercy in the micro?
When you're saying, is there a need, like, are you asking like, why is it that way?
So what I'm trying to see in here is, I mean, that's not an answer to anybody's question directly, but the very final phrase that he has in the last paragraph, where he says, "Is it at all possible that anything other than the all glorious one of beauty and all beauteous one of glory?" So it sounds like a weird combined word, but let's try to understand what he is saying in there. All glorious one of beauty. And I am having a hard time wrapping my head around this English phrase, so I'm cheating from the original text. It says, Jalil Zul Jamal. So I guess how I would translate this to common people's language is, like in this text in general, he is comparing glory and beauty. So glory is Jalal and beauty is Jamal. So somebody with glory or Jalal is like when you think about a glorious or person with Jalal, there's some sort of anger, greatness, vastness. But when you talk about beauty, beauty is more fineness, kindness, like the two being together in the same place is a hard thing. Like imagine someone, when I think about for example, Jalal, I think about a very mighty warrior. Like in a human, when we talk about glory, what comes to my mind is a very mighty warrior, a strong, like muscly, serious, angrily looking man. But when we talk about beauty, mercy, what comes to my mind is a very fine artist, like a fine person, and also like motherly mercy is there. Imagining a person who is both a mighty warrior and super merciful is not really going together that much. So, but the author is saying that in the universe, we observe the mightiness as like, as if the creator of the universe make this universe as a palace. And this is how Quran is describing it as well, saying that sun is a light bulb, or like it's an oven. Earth is like the surface of earth is laid down for you as if it's like a cradle. Like these are all describing the universe as a palace, and I am a guest in here. If you take it as such, imagine if you go to some presidential palace which has 100 rooms, first thing that attracts your attention is the glory. In this universe, the creator is describing it as a palace, and actually you do see it as a palace. And I'm the guest in here. And the owner of this palace has all these multiple rooms, multiple like light bulbs everywhere. But not only that, he is so beautifully and mercifully taking care of every minute detail as well. So this is why he is using at the very end, all glorious one of beauty. What is being, when you see that aspect, the first thing that attracts your attention is glory, but beauty is coming secondary. In the flip side, he is talking about all beauteous one of glory. So he is all beauteous, but he has glory in his beautiful actions, in his manifestation of mercy as well. So now the author is saying that beautiful merging of glory and beauty cannot be separated. it cannot be two separate entities, one governing the gloriousness of the palace and something else, an independent entity taking care of the details or the beauty here and there. Why? Because the two are so, again, in harmony. The glory is being manifested in the palace, but me as the guest of this house am not being cast out and saying that, well, we provided you the house and go and find your ways. No, I am being provided with sunlight. I am being provided with water, and water, even I'm being provided it with droplets of water in the rain. This is why it is being called mercy. Like, I'm not being provided with water in floods, but drop by drop, I'm being provided with air as it comes to all the way to my nose, so I don't need to go anywhere. So these are showing all the mercy aspect or the beauty aspect of how well I am being maintained. So on one hand, there's glory. On the other hand, there's beauty and mercy. So the way the two are so beautifully put together shows that Lahul Mulk, since this is our topic, his is the dominion from beginning to the end again, but this time from glory and beauty perspective.
Well, can I add something? I'm not sure if you see the hand rising, so I just start talking. I apologize.
Of course,
Right.
go ahead.
Okay. Thank you. So the paragraph in the the middle paragraph, what we see on the screen, that is while the huge heavenly bodies. This while part, but there's no emphasis with the English. It says like while huge heavenly bodies proclaim the glory, the tiny animate creatures declare mercy. So the while is in the original, it's almost like at the same time. Just when the heavenly bodies declare glory, the animate creatures declare mercy. So this is kind of repetition of what Yusuf already said, but they are happening at the same time for the same thing. Like, you can look at the sun from one perspective and you will see glory there. If you take it as part of this entire cosmos, this machinery or whatever you want to call it, you will see the glory there. Its volume, its the look, the how it is a giant ball of fire and so on, the glory. But at the same time, if you look from your own perspective as an animate being who has the numerous needs, when you look at the sun, you will see mercy there. It's a giant ball of fire. It's so scary. It's so like a glorious as, but it's not only like a glorious piece of art. It's glorious in the sense that it gives you all. You are speechless. But at the same time, you look at the same thing from your own perspective, how you need something, how you desire something, and what you need is that it is being put there so that it will fulfill your needs. The two things happening at the same time shows that Lahul Mulk. Whatever happens in you, whatever happens out there, it's nothing but his doing. Otherwise, how can you explain that the same thing both has this glorious aspect and also has this the merciful, compassionate aspect, working for all different perspectives, for all different needs, for all different purposes. Jazakallah.
Okay, so since Brother Birkan, you're not here, they were barely hearing you, which means you should come to discussion. So but I will try to summarize in a single sentence what Brother Birkan said, not because it's summarizable in a single sentence, but not to steal more of your time. Brother Birkan is emphasizing the point that since the author uses all glorious one of beauty, so at everything, if you look at it from one perspective, you observe glory. If you look at it from another perspective, at the same time, you do observe beauty. But I guess the emphasis in here a little bit more in the sense that the glorious things from a human point of view are maybe when you look at the sun and the moon and the stars, you do observe glory more. But as you come closer to a fly, a small fly, let's say, or a small creature, you start observing mercy or beauty more. But at the same time, both is being manifest in both ends.
Oh, can I also
Okay, thank you so much. I just want to say something that this all glorious one of beauty is like one of the Asma Allah al-Husna, Dhul Jalali. No, it should be Dhul Jalali wal Ikram, right? Not Dhul Jalali. This should be Dhul Jalali wal Jamal. Oh, okay. Never mind. Okay. Should we move to the sixth section? Yeah, someone would like to read? Not Arsalan. He read already.
can I add something?
Yes, sure.
Since you are moving, like I will not give the answer. I cannot talk much since you cannot hear me anyway.
Brother Birkan, yeah, it's being hard to hear you, so keep that in mind.
Now? Okay, so I just want to repeat the question. I think Zaratu was asking about the needs being sustained. What does author exactly mean here? Like sometimes I want a lot of things. I think I need a lot of things, and most of them are not sustained. So how should we understand that part?
Not to silence Brother Birkan's voice, but maybe it might be more practically useful if he types it out and then Brother you can read it.
Brother Birkan, it's better you type your questions because people cannot hear it, although you speak it out since the room is large. To make it more practical, it might be more helpful is what people said. I'm not saying, I mean, I like you. It's not about me. Yeah, one person in the audience said.
So is it any better now or is it same?
No, it's probably about the laptop speaker.
Okay, it's your laptop, right? Just to make sure.
Yeah. But it's you who didn't come today. But anyways, I mean, not to put you on the spot. Okay. So shall we move on, or are you writing your question? Okay. So what do you think? Shall we read it now or give the break now and then up to you?
Yeah, we can take the break now and then we start.
Okay, so let's give a break for 10 minutes to do Maghrib.
Can I see what?
And inshallah, we are going to be back in 10 minutes after doing Maghrib and continue from the 6th. Brother Brikan, can you talk again? We are trying to test something.
Just Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes, people now can hear you. Can you also hear? Okay, the person who suggested you to write also can hear. Now you can make your comment, Brother Brikan.
Oh, okay. I don't have a comment right now. Thank you.
So we'll continue with the sixth section, and Sister Aishanur, you wanted to read? Oh, okay, sorry. I thought you wanted to.
His Majesty in the
Red.
That's right. There we go. His Majesty in the former testifies that he is one, while his bounty in the latter proclaims that he is single. Its meaning is this: just as the majesty of dominicality, which is manifested in the totality of the universe, proves and demonstrates divine unity, so dominical bounty, which bestows on the members of animate creatures their regular provisions, proves and demonstrates divine oneness. As for unity, it is to say that all those creatures belong to one, and they look to one, and they are the creation of one. Whereas by oneness is meant that most of the names of the creator of all things are manifested in all beings. For example, the light of the sun may be seen as analogous to unity by reason of its comprehending the face of the earth, while the fact that its light and heat, the seven colors in its lights, and some sort of shadow of it are found in all transparent objects, and drops of water makes them analogous to oneness. And the fact that most of the maker's names are manifested in each single thing, especially in each animate creature, and above all in man, points to oneness. Thus, this section indicates that the majesty of dominicality, which has total disposal over the universe, makes a huge sun a servant, a lamp, and a stove for animate creatures on the face of the earth, and makes the mighty earth a cradle, a hostel, and a place trade for them, and fire a cook, and friend present everywhere, and clouds, strainers, and wet nurses, and mountains, storehouses, and treasuries, and the air, a fan for animate creatures for breathing in and out, and water, a nurse who suckles new arrivals to life, and a seller of sweet drinks who supplies animals with the water of life. This divine dominicality demonstrates divine unity most lucidly. Turn the page. Let's go over here. Indeed, who other than one creator could subjugate the sun so that it is a servant of the inhabitants of the earth? And who other than the single one of unity could take the wind in his hand, entrusting it with a great many duties and employing it as a swift and agile servant on the face of the earth? And who, apart from the single one of unity, would have the ability to make fire a cook and to cause a tiny flame the size of a match head to consume thousands of tons of goods, and so on? Every single thing, every single element, every single heavenly body points to the all glorious one of unity at the degree of majesty of dominicality. Thus, as divine unity is apparent in respect of glory and majesty, so bounty and munificence proclaim divine oneness in respect of beauty and mercy. This is because within this all-embracing art, animate creatures, and especially man, possesses the facilities and abilities to understand, accept, and desire the infinite varieties of bounties, and to reflect all the divine names manifested in the universe. Simply, like a point of focus, man displays all the beautiful names together by means of his mirror-like essence, and through it proclaims God's oneness.
Any comments, questions? Did you understand the meaning, like how he defined unity and oneness? Because I had different definitions in my mind.
Yeah, I had a comment about that, but oh, sorry. Um, yeah, I was having a hard time with the oneness part because, like, the example given to support oneness, I thought focused more on like the unity, how everything is kind of following a unison. So, like, the fire is cooking, so I assumed that was like, sorry, yeah, the fire cooks the food. So, in order for the cooking of the food to happen, that needs to, like, the cooking, the fire needs to be a certain temperature or whatever, and then it cooks the food. So I kind of thought of it that way, but I couldn't still come back to, like, then how do you decide the Lord is one? Like, that part, I didn't know if I clearly got the answer through the reading. So if anybody has a comment or anything, that would be wonderful.
So I'm going to use the Arabic words for that rather than oneness and unity because I'm getting lost with that. So we started with saying La ilaha illallah wahdahu. So here he is comparing wahdahu. And also when we say Qul huwallahu ahad, so there's also ahad. So the author is here comparing what is wahid, what is ahad. In a sense, what is wahid? So what is wahid and what is ahad, and what does it mean for us? What is the distinction of these two for us? This is being mentioned in here. So when it says wahdahu, he is let me see. So unity by wahdaniya. So he uses in the translation, she used it as unity. So he's giving the example of a, let's say, sun. There is one sun out there, but you observe the same sun illuminating everywhere in different places. So you observe a purple flower here, you observe a yellow flower somewhere else. So, but when you look at the creation, you see that all these are coming from one sun. So the way that you observe, purple color reflects here, or it's yellow here, but the way that they're reflecting and it's being in harmony shows that they're coming from one sun. When it comes to ahad, says, just look at every water droplet, and in every water droplet, you are going to observe sun with all its colors, its shape and everything in a single water droplet. Although small in scale, but every water droplet becomes a comprehensive mirror to the sun. So in two ways, you can get to know the creator. So let's practically come to a practical meaning of that. With that metaphor, what he is saying is, when you look at the existence, you will observe mercy, let's say, when you look at a mother. And then you will see a, let's say, I don't know, a cat somewhere, cuteness, you will see in their beauty. Then you will see a wavy sea, you will say, oh, this is majesty, this is power observed in there. And the way all this creation is in harmony, you say that, oh, the mercy, the beauty, the majesty, all of them are coming from wahid. So it's coming from the same source, the way that they're being manifested. But when it comes to ahad, you look at a living being, let's say yourself, and in a single living being, let's say, or you look at Ali, you observe mercy, beauty, majesty, everything in one place. So if you would like to get to know your creator, you can take one example, especially human, where all names of the creator is being manifest in a single spot. But also you can get to know your creator by looking at Ali and and then to mountain, and then to under the sea, and all different names are going to be manifest all over the place. When you look at a mountain, a certain name is going to be manifest more than anything else. But when you look at the sun, another name. When you look at the rain, another name. So this is wahid. Is this making a little bit of a sense? Because a few days ago, Zarar sent a message about this topic, because author is talking about this topic elsewhere as well. He says, Wahdaniya, oneness, is hard to grasp because names of the creator is being manifest all over the place, but people might get lost saying that, oh, this is mercy and this is oneness, or this is power, this is art, like different aspects of the creator. Since it requires a comprehensive perspective to see the harmony and say that, oh, the merciful and the beautiful and the powerful are the same. They're not distinct entities. Because the way these 3 or 5 or many names are being manifest together in this existence testifies that they are coming from a single source. But people are generally getting lost in that. This is why they come up with mythologies, let's say, as in the example of Greeks, since it's the most famous example. They say, oh, no, there is majesty one, and then there's this wrathful one, and then there's this merciful one, and then there's this loving one, and so forth. So he says, but the creator, out of his mercy, although he manifests with oneness, with wahdaniyya, in the meantime, he also manifests with ahadiyya. What does that mean? He says, also in everything, he manifests with all his names as well. Like, it's not that wherever he is manifesting with his mercy, there is no majesty. It's not that wherever he is manifesting with, order, there is no trace of sustaining. And he says, especially in living beings, and especially in human, all names are being manifest. And you can check for yourself, look at yourself or any living being, you will observe that actually all those names which are being manifest, scattered in the universe, is being all together at the same time, being manifest in living beings. How come? As a human, you are manifesting mercy, beauty, all those names. Not only that, you are in need of sun, in need of rain, in need of everything. So human, especially human, or any living being, becomes the focal point of divine names manifestation. This type of manifestation of creator is called ahad. And it's a manifestation of mercy as well, because it is really in a single spot you can get to know your creator with all aspects. Does it make sense or no? I see a few puzzled faces. A few okay. I got only one okay. So
Can I ask you a question so you can open it further? Like, let's say it was like the Greeks, where I had a god of thunder and war and wrath and knowledge, and so what do I gain? I'm just thinking practically. So let's say there's a hadiyah where everything is met, all the names are manifested. Like, what do I gain that the Greeks didn't have? Like, for example, they would ask a god of war one day and this another day. Like, what does a hadiyah give me practically that they didn't have?
So if the creator did not manifest with a hadiyah, I would be falling into, it would be possible, more likely that I will fall into what Greeks fell into. And then in my world, I would say, no, those manifestations are coming from different sources. Merciful is different, Lord of Wrath is different, Wrath is different, Lord of War is different, and whatnot. In this world, I will be having it infinitely split. So if I am in need of a certain thing, let's say mercy, I will go and beg in front of God of mercy. But if I am angry with you, now, since I have these conflicting feelings, I will go and beg in front of multiple things. So actually, this is how we are right now. That is what Greek mythology fell into, is Zeynep. So what Greek mythology fell into is everything is a being independently, and I am in need of every single one of them. What do you do in this case? Like, imagine in the workplace, if you had 10 bosses, how would it work? If you're under the command of 10 separate people. Okay. So if you were under the command of 10 separate people, how would it be? Like, even if you have only one advisor as a one grad student, it's too much to please, right? Imagine you have 2 advisors or 3 advisors. Now it becomes an impossible thesis, because what one would ask the opposite of the other, and now you need to please all 3 of them. Sometimes just one of them says, oh, you please the other one more, so you need to do this more just to please me more. Like, all sorts of awkwardnesses happen. I would find myself in such a situation in this world if I had multiple deities. And practically, if I cannot reach to oneness of the maker, this becomes our reality, right? Or even, I mean, forget about all those technicalities. If I don't believe in one creator, really, then I find myself, I have to please my wife, also please my mother. It's impossible right there anyways, right? Then on top of that, add pleasing your children, pleasing your boss as well, because who wants me to work on the weekend? But my wife wants me to not work on the weekend, so on and so forth. Like, this becomes my life. I mean, it's not Greeks, it's me, right? So as long as my purpose in this life becomes pleasing someone so that I'm going to feel valuable, right? I see my value by confirmations of people. They become my gods, right? So this is why oneness is my savior, for sure. But if now we take it back to Wahid versus Ahad, observe, reaching Wahid is hard for human. Why? Because somewhere, when I think about, let's say, let's give the example of warrior again, or let's keep it simpler. When I think about cats, I think about cuteness. When I think about lion, it is being fierce. When I think about fish, it is just numbness or whatever. Like, all different manifestations are there. So, like, all of them created by the same one, because one quality is dominant in every single one of these. Yes, if you can really have a wider lens and observe all of them and see how harmonious they are, you would say that, oh, it is the same one who is manifesting in here, because that mercy, that fierceness, and everything is perfectly in harmony, indicating that it's coming from a single source. But having this wide lens might be hard. It requires focus, right? Out of mercy of the Creator, he is also manifesting in all names at a small spot which can fit into your attention span, which is yourself as a human. So in you, you can sense mercy and also fierceness and also sometimes numbness and all different feelings. Everything that's manifest out there is being manifested in here in a single spot, and it's very accessible to you. So you don't need to go through the whole existence now. So you can, whenever you feel like you're getting lost out there, just focus here and see that the same colors all spread out there is being merged together in a single spot, which is human in here. So, oh, my maker is one because he puts mercy and anger in the same place in me. So the manifestation of the merciful and the anger, the wrath, is the same. So it really helps me not to fall into this multiplicity, the fallacy of multiplicity. This is why Wahda is necessary, because it demonstrates oneness of the Creator in glory, in large scale. But Ahad is necessary for me because my attention is not always that wide. I am interested, or I am in need of, human is in need of, this is how I am made, human is in need of observing the same meaning in a small scale, so that without getting lost, I can see it, I can confirm it. And then as I'm convinced here, I can go back and start observing Wahdaniya outside as well. Oh, now, today I'm going to study Jamal, Jalal, Razak. Go and study it. But then come back and say, oh, he is Ahad. So Razak is no different than Rahim. Come back. Tomorrow, go ahead and study another name. So this back and forth. So that's why in here, the author is now emphasizing that in one aspect, the creator is manifesting with Wahdaniya, with glory, and certain names are being more dominantly manifest in this part of the creation, that part of the creation. But also at the same time, all names manifest with small scale, but everywhere with Ahad. So, and these two terms, the reason I kept using Wahid and Ahad is very much repeated in Quran, and the author is explaining what they mean. So when we say Qul huwallahu ahad, it is what we mean in there is different than Allahu wahidun. So because the two are separate manifestations, both means God is one, but one is emphasizing one aspect, the other one is emphasizing another aspect. So there's this important distinction.
Thank you. But I also think it is, well, I don't know if it's important, but I also think like the universe also shows us how like Allah can be Ahad. And also like similarly, the microcosm like shows us how Allah can be Wahid. Because I misunderstood the text first. So I was like trying to like justify or like see how like Allah's mercy on me like proves that he is proves his oneness. And I was thinking like, because in the last line of the first paragraph, it says, which bestows on the members of animate creatures their regular provisions. So that word like regular was important for me because I was thinking like because they're regular, so the bounty is coming from the same one who knows me, or it is coming from the same one who gave it to me yesterday or the day before, or the same one who knows what my needs are. So I was also thinking that the microcosm can like also tell us that Allah is Wahid on top of like him being Ahad.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So may I speak?
Yes.
So I'd like to go back to the first question. I think it was from Zarartu again, about the fire, cook, and so on, how all these things showing the oneness, wahad, wahidiyah. And she was talking about the fire needs to be certain temperature to cook and so on and so forth. But before going into these details, like something, at least to me, very interesting is the fact that I get hungry and I need food, and I need food to be cooked. So for instance, I mean, of course I can eat fruit or just vegetables, but it doesn't matter. Forget about these raw food diets, which are not any good anyway. So I cannot eat, let's say, the raw meat, uncooked meat, and I need it to be cooked. And such a coincidence that there is something called fire. And when I put my raw meat on fire, it gets cooked, meaning it becomes something that I need. It transforms into something that I can consume. And when you think about it, like if you are talking about the order and the temperature and so on and so forth, I mean, don't you, and you here is plural, don't you think it's such a big quote unquote coincidence that I need this to be exactly that way and it happens to be that way? And I think author here is that, like, you go to IKEA, this furniture store, you get a box, you open the box, and there are certain parts, and surprise, surprise, they fit. And then there are some screws, the other, the strange things. And again, a big surprise, they also fit. And even a bigger surprise, when you put them together in a certain way, they are designed all together, it seems, from the same source. And you put them all together in a certain way, it becomes a furniture that you can use. And again, surprise, surprise, it fills some needs of you. And then you say, whoever, like, just look at the furniture. You say, I guess it will be very easy to say, whoever put all these different parts in the box, because there are many different parts. Like when you look at them, if you get any, such furniture that is not the build, the parts are very different. Like somebody's like Abdurrahman, for instance, can say, oh, Birkan, come on, you're not making any sense. These wooden parts are from one, group, and the metal parts are from another group. And Atik says, oh, wait a second, these metal parts, there are at least 3 different types. They must be coming from different groups of people. And then Zarartu says, oh, how about the plastic parts? They are not even same material. They must be coming from someone else, right? We can say that. But if you use your mind just a little bit, you look at the box and you say that it's coming from the same company because they fit perfectly and they serve a very meaningful purpose. And then okay, this is just what is inside the box. And then you say that, oh, whoever designed the furniture as the whole product must know about my needs as well, my ergonomics and so on. So you can apply the same logic to the entire universe, like the fire and the food, for instance. Forget about the temperature and so on. Just look like a layman. I need something, and this fire satisfies this need, or help me satisfy this need. It is obvious that whatever I see in the universe, they fulfill a single purpose from one perspective. They come together, they fit. Hence, the Wahidiyah. So this is how I understand all these examples author give is proving the oneness or Wahidiyah. I have another comment about Hadiyat and so on, but I will stop here. I don't want to take too much of your time. I can speak later.
I mean, if no one has a comment, I think you're fine. You can go ahead.
Okay, Jazakallah khair. So going back to these multiple gods examples, so it's like, I don't like hypothetical examples. I always say that. I think we should only look at what is existing. And maybe an exception. So when we look at these, the hypothetical multiple gods examples, we always see something very funny. Like, for instance, the god of knowledge in these mythologies, it is sometimes very clumsy, sometimes, capricious and so on. And it's just knowledgeable, and that's all. And by itself, it's basically useless. The same thing with the powerful God, which is the powerful but merciless. So forget about helping people. Sometimes you have to fight with him, and so on and so forth. So when you see all these different names separately, when we want to take them as separately, we realize that this is not something I need. This is not helping me at all. Like what I need is knowledgeable, but at the same time merciful, but at the same time powerful one. Because if he's not powerful, even if he's knowledgeable, it wouldn't help me to, to give me what I need. If he cannot will, if he cannot, create, uh, all these names coming together only fulfill my need. So my needs, I guess that's the reason the author also putting the emphasis on animate creatures or the creatures with the consciousness and so on, with needs, basically, when it comes to ahadiyya. Because your needs will tell you that all these names should come together. And through all these numerous needs, we know that the single maker manifests with all his names in me, or the vice versa. Because all these different names are manifested in me through different needs and so on in a single creature, I know that all these names are looking at the same source. So it's all about, basically our needs. So that's the reason author is talking about the bounties. At least this is how I see.
Thank you so much.
Another question, sorry.
Mhm.
So then is all human idea a coincidence? So like you somehow came up with the idea, and then was it really a need then? Like I think about technology and somebody thought of the idea supposedly and then decided maybe we need light and or maybe we need to build this skyscraper and it only works if we do it in this type of structure and it won't fall down. So does that imply then I guess, yeah, like the coincidence is coming through Allah? Like I don't know if that quite makes
So I
sense. But
apologize if I caused confusion. I use the word coincidence as what is the word for somebody knows kinaya? Like it was like a sarcastic use of word coincidence. It's like either you have to believe that all these are coincidence, which is, if you ask me, it's the most stupid idea ever, that everything we observe being just a coincidence, or you realize that they are all coming from the same source. Like the furniture example, you either believe that, oh, it's such a coincidence that all these parts, they're coming together, put in the same box, and they come together perfectly and fulfill a single purpose. Such a coincidence, you believe. Or you simply say that this is stupid, Birkan. They are made by the same company and every part is coming from the same source. Oh, if you are speaking, I cannot hear you.
Sorry, my mic was off. Sorry. So Peter is gonna read the seventh section.
Um, His stamp on the former is on all things, universal and particular, with his seal on the latter is on the body and on the limbs. Its meaning is this: just as the glorious maker has a mighty stamp on the macrocosm as a whole, so he has put a stamp of unity on each of his part of species. And just as he has set the seal of unity on the face and body of each human being, the microcosm, so on each of their limbs is a seal of his unity. Indeed, the all powerful one of glory has placed on everything, on universals and on particulars, on stars and on particles, a stamp of unity which bears witness to him. On each he has a seal of unity which points to him. His greatest of truth, having been elucidated and proved most brilliantly and decisively in the 22nd word, the 32nd word, and the 33 windows of the 33rd letter. We refer you to those, and cutting short the discussion, conclude it here.
I assume microphone is off again.
Because I think like the last ones were different because he was like, oh, the macrocosm is this way and the microcosm is this way. But in this one, he's talking about. Got it. Yeah. So the last ones were different because in there, like he was talking like talking about how the universe is like a masjid, and then the microcosm is like there to prostrate. But over here, like he's talking about the unity in the macrocosm and microcosm. So stamp and steel are the same. So it's like just as his stamp is on just as he like this, his stamp is on the macrocosm, so is his seal on the latter. I think in this, like in the second sentence, its meaning is this: just as the glorious maker has a mighty stamp on the macrocosm as a whole, so he has put a stamp of unity on each of its parts and species. And he has set the seal of unity on the face and body of each human being, the microcosm, seal of his unity. I thought this was just like pointing to like how they're like united, but I might be wrong.
The Arabic version, they wrote the same letter, the same word. So I don't know. But I'm not sure this is so accurate. Yeah. I don't know. Could be. Not sure. Maybe Brother Yusuf could help. Yeah.
So I guess the main message I get out of the seventh is in the sixth, he talked about Wahdani, Wahid and Ahad. So Wahid was across the like macrocosm, and Ahad in microcosm was more observable. But now in the seventh, he's saying that this Wahda is also observable in macro and micro. What does he mean? In the macro, when you look at the like universe, you observe some manifestation in the as a whole. But when you look at the pieces of the macrocosm, such as, let's say, you went ahead with mountains and this and that, you observe the oneness being manifest in spread fashion. He says the same applies to human. Human is, although part of the big picture as an entity, but within humans, you can consider human in the case as a macrocosm, if you like. Overall, in the human, you will observe oneness, but every single part of human, every single aspect of human is going to testify to the creator in a different way as well. So what I'm understanding out of this is universe is a compound, and let's say a mountain is part of it, or a human is part of it as an individual, but that individual is also a compound which consists of many different feelings and different limbs and everything. So in the bigger scale, in the macrocosm, you observe oneness, and human is becoming one sign of oneness in this large manifestation. But when you zoom into human, which single entity, in the human, the same thing also applies. In one sense, human is collectively in the larger scale. If you can zoom out of human, you will observe that, yes, with all its components, human is a demonstrating oneness. But then you zoom in and you observe that human has an I, which is in a different way, again, pointing back to the oneness of the creator, because human is also a compound. And the same thing applies to anything in this existence. You can keep zooming it into human. Even you can zoom into the particle further, because if you look at from outside, particle is saying that I have one owner, but then you zoom in and, oh, there's neutron, proton, electron, quadron, whatever, all different things. All of them in harmony, again, says that we have one maker. So that aspect of, which is an addendum to the sixth one, because in the sixth, it sounded as if he is making a separation, but he says within that separation is again some sort of, like in mathematics, they call it fractals, this repeating patterns. When you look at it from outside, it looks like one pattern. You zoom in, oh, there's this one pattern was consisting of thousands of this large pattern. As you zoom in, it keeps happening. So in this seventh one, he is as if tying it back to this sort of, like in the original, he uses the terminology kul and juz, like the collective and piece. And he's saying that this is how the creation is happening. In the collective, the big one, you observe the creator in one sense. In the piece, you observe it another way. But if you zoom in, the piece becomes another large collective, like kul. So this is what I understand from here. Okay, so shall we conclude here? So inshallah, we are concluding here. Jazakallah khair. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana innaka antal alimul hakim. Wa akhiru da'wahum anil hamdulillah.